And welcome everybody to NASCA's open discussion and meeting about the exploring and feasibility of a food cooperative here in the Prescott area. Landon Shaling is on, he's a volunteer for NASCA, and he's also works side by side with Molly Beverly with Slow Foods Prescott. So there's going to be a small presentation, and then we will have time for some community feedback and Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and also, so just a little bit of things that we can do while Landon's doing the PowerPoint presentation, if everybody can turn off their video and mute themselves. And the best way to see it is to click on speaker view so that you just see the PowerPoint, and Landon and Stuart's pictures will be there. So I'll let Landon take it from here.
All right, thanks, Carrie. I'll open up our slideshow. So we're gonna start, I'm gonna share about what we've done so far, what I've initiated within a co-op in Prescott, some interesting opportunities we have for funding, and our next steps for creating the food co-op. And then I'll hand it over to Stuart Reed. Stuart Reed is with the Food Co-op Initiative, which is a nonprofit co-op that helps food co-op grocery stores get started, and they have a lot of amazing free resources, and their information has been foundational to the process that I've begun and that we're all now going through together through your participation. So thank you for being here or tuning in later on the recording. So my name's Landon Shaling. I am kind of the food co-op pioneer in Prescott. There's a lot of other people getting involved that have been really instrumental to the process so far, and I've just kind of been the one rounding everyone up and finding the direction and finding who can help execute and all of that stuff. We have Stuart Reed. I also want to give another shout out to Carrie with NASCA and Molly Beverly with Slow Food Prescott. They've been super helpful with getting community interest and gathering everyone here and getting the word out that we're here to make a food co-op. So what is a cooperative? The cooperative model is a business owned and governed by the people that use it. They're called members or member owners. The member owner kind of helps distinguish that you're not just a member like you're a member at Costco, but being a member means that you really do have an equity share and decision-making power within the cooperative business model. And the cooperative model is really amazing for consumer grocery stores, which is what we're looking at making. It also, there's cooperative models for agriculture and childcare. There's the cooperative model helps in a very large number of ways, more than I could really talk about now. There's some distinct legal structures involved with incorporating, but that's kind of more of the nitty-gritty details, which you can find more information about that on the Food Co-op Initiative website, fci.coop. There's a link towards the end of the PowerPoint presentation if anyone's interested in finding the details. One thing I wanted to clarify is that the cooperative is a for-profit organization. It's not a nonprofit. But the goals of the cooperative are to meet community needs and also to honor like local farmers and the people that input into it. And so blind profit increase goes against the tenets of the cooperative model, even though we're all seeking an economic benefit from it. I was inspired by the Food Conspiracy Co-op in Tucson, Arizona about 3 years ago when I visited there, and it's just kind of been in the back of my mind. I'm a permaculture homesteader. That's how I've been sustaining myself for many years. And this has been something that I've wanted to really engage in with the community, to really bring all of Prescott up into a new level of economic security and resilience. And if you have seen my resilience talk with NASCA from a few weeks ago, you would know that I'm all about community resilience and finding ways to do that. So I find a food co-op to be the best offering that I can make to a community, is to help create a food co-op to meet those goals. We have a unique opportunity to possibly get some large funding from the city of Prescott, because they received $5 million from the federal government through the CARES Act. I don't think we would get the whole $5 million, but there's a high potential to meet a good portion of funding there. I've met with local farmers and community organizers, and I'm reaching out to small business owners and other community stakeholders that have great insights and ideas around what the community would need. And I'm also here to reach out to all of the community and hear, like, what do we really want this co-op to offer, and what do we want it to look like? Because this is a community-owned business. Like, I'm kind of spearheading the creation, but it's not my business. I'm ready to let it go to the community once it's finished, and just have that amazing economic and community foundation that it offers. So yeah, we want to hear from you and get a conversation and some excitement going before I go talk to the city council. And stay tuned for more ways that you can help out. Coming this week, I'm going to be releasing a community survey amongst some other things. So what will it look like? What I imagine is a full-scale grocery store with a large focus on local produce and local value-added food products. I'm super passionate about local food, and I think that's the focal point and the kind of the keystone for economic and environmental security. We've seen with the pandemic that supply lines are fragile, and that we really need to increase and make more secure our local food system, so that in case of global disaster or emergencies, which now seem very real, that we can meet the needs of our community. And the best way to do that is to increase demand before it becomes a life or death situation in that way. Other things that I see being offered would be bulk foods and soaps and things like that to minimize waste, and having a cafe / deli and a nice sitting area so that we can have a community gathering space tied into the whole thing. We definitely want to hear anyone's ideas, either through email if this is recorded, or at the end of the presentation. Anyone who's here, we'd love to hear any ideas that you would be excited to have in a food co-op, so that we can just, as much as we can gather, this is the beginning stages, so we want to have as much information as possible going forward so that we can hone it in. That's what I'm trying to say. Some pictures of some successful food co-ops. Next steps, fill out the community survey that will be coming out this week. I can take that excitement and feedback to the city council. Also, in tandem with that, I'm looking into the incorporation process and a board of directors. And then there's always the cycle of reaching out into the community, building more excitement, getting feedback from the community about what we want to see, and then acquiring members after we've incorporated. That gets into like the member shares and creating equity for the food co-op to be financially solvent. And then once we reach a certain threshold in our fundraising, mostly through equity shares. We can initiate a full feasibility study with professionals that the Food Co-op Initiative has referred me to. And then from that point, we'll have a very laid out business plan of how many people we expect to be members, how big the store needs to be, et cetera. And that kind of gets us into the phase 2 of implementation, which we'll see those steps later. From here, Stuart, if you'd like to take over and share about general cooperative model expertise that you have, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Stuart Reed. I've been working in and with co-ops since I was in college, which was, just a couple of years ago, plus maybe more like 40 something. But anyway, I've been deeply immersed in the world of co-ops, and it's the only kind of business model that I've ever felt comfortable in. I believe deeply in it. And I'm very committed to helping communities like yours start their own co-ops. Food Co-op Initiative is a nonprofit. We don't charge for our services, but we try to help communities all over the country get off the ground successfully. So I'm here to help you any way I can, and I hope that you'll not be afraid to give me a call or an email or whatever is easiest. If you have questions, concerns, or whatever, that is why we're here, and I look forward to hearing from you as we go forward. So I've got the dry part here, but I'll try to make it interesting. What can I say? Cooperative values are pretty straightforward, really. I mean, if you look at this list, I mean, who would not endorse this list of values? It's pretty obviously good things, but how many businesses do? I mean, how many businesses have a set of values that they endorse that is this valuable to the community, to the world we live in? And I'm not going to run through them all, but I just want to point that out. Cooperatives are different business model. We have a different reason for our existence, and it makes a huge impact in the communities where co-ops exist. So next, please. There is a set of cooperative principles that have evolved from the earliest pioneers of cooperatives back in the 1800s. Generally, the Rochdale pioneers in England are given credit for a lot of the ground rules, if you will, that have evolved into this set of principles. So that's going back quite a long ways, but this is international, and there are huge cooperative sectors in many, many countries. The United States has millions of members of cooperatives. Other countries have in regions of Spain, most of the food coming out of in that area is coming out of cooperative. In England, there are cooperatives in small villages as well as large cooperatives. There's travel co-ops, there's funeral co-ops. I mean, co-ops are everywhere in people's lives, and many times you don't even realize it. Electrical co-ops, for example, brought power to the people in this country when for-profit companies weren't willing to go there because it didn't make sense for them. They couldn't make enough profit to go to those rural communities. So these principles dictate how all co-ops around the world work, and they're very, I think, very important because we take them seriously. They're not just lip service. So, okay, next. And co-ops within communities, remembering again that co-ops are owned by the people that use them. They're owned by the people in the community. And though as owners, they can have a lot of control over the direction that co-op, that business will go. So that what a co-op sells isn't necessarily what are the highest profit margin items. It's what people in the community want. And a lot of times that's local and regional products from local and regional producers, your friends and neighbors, in other words. So you're supporting them at the same time that you're getting the services and the goods that you want. The profits from the co-op stay in the community because the co-op is community owned. There is not a corporate office somewhere in Delaware with the CEO and there's no shareholders that are expecting a return on their dollar, even though they don't ever shop at the business. It's you. You are the shareholders and the people in the community. And you won't get a huge return on your investment. That's not the point. You're investing in a co-op because you want what it can offer you, which in your case is food and related services. So you're getting that for your investment. And if the co-op is profitable, it'll reinvest some of those profits to expand what it can offer. If it has more profits than that, it will return them to you, the owners. So there is potential for that kind of a financial return. But you're not investing in this because you want to get rich. Nobody gets rich at a grocery store, by the way. But aside from that, the reason for this is the community wants to have its needs met effectively and not be held hostage by corporate headquarters that has different goals than what you want as a community. So these are really important benefits in a co-op. The co-ops provide well-paying jobs. They typically pay better than corporate-owned grocery stores. Better benefits, better wages, and it's the being involved in a co-op helps people learn how to be community. It's a gathering place for community. It's a training ground for community. It expands beyond that original business, and people take what they've learned in terms of organizing, getting people together to do this, and that spreads to other things in the community. So it's a teaching and learning experience as well as a business. And so selling food is, yeah, that's why you have a food co-op. But there's so much more that comes with that, so many benefits. I've experienced it firsthand. One of my first co-ops I was affiliated with was in a neighborhood that was, well, there was a laundromat that was a place for people to sleep if they didn't have another place to sleep. There was a bar that was lined with motorcycles and on the police's hot list. And after the co-op opened and anchored that neighborhood, it began to change. Now it's a thriving neighborhood in Minneapolis that is doing very well. And the co-op had a big role in that. Just by being there and by helping to change the expectations of the community, a lot of things happened. Okay, next. So I kind of hit on a lot of this, but I want to point out that in addition to the jobs impact, the support for local producers is perhaps one of the strongest benefits that co-ops provide, and it's one of the things that people really appreciate because you're getting fresh food from local farms instead of shipped in from other countries or thousands of miles away. And a lot of times they're really close by, and those producers become friends of the co-op. I mean, they show up in the store and do sampling of their products. And a lot of co-ops, you'll see posters and banners in the store showing pictures of the people they're buying their food from. Now, you may see that in some supermarkets, but believe me, there's a big difference in how they define local and what the relationship is. They've learned from us. They continue to do that, but they don't do it the same way. So, I mean, a typical food co-op is buying 25%. This is 20, but it's moved up from the time when I first made this slide. It's almost 25% of the products that a co-op sells are coming from local producers. And we define local, and there's not one definition because it varies depending on the region of the country. You know, if you've got a highly developed farming industry for food for people, then that local could be within 100 miles or even maybe less. If you're in the middle of an area where there isn't a lot of food production, local might mean the 5-state area. So, but you know, what is your food ecosystem is what that is reliant on. But nonetheless, it's an important criterion that co-ops use when they're looking at where do they get their products. They're trying to support local producers because they're part of this community. Their health is critical to everyone's. So I'm not going to go into the fine details, but because co-ops are locally owned and they buy locally, they buy services, they buy products locally, money recycles in the community at a much higher rate than it would if the business was owned by an outside corporation. Okay, next. So getting a co-op started, I would say that one of the most important things is having a really strong team to organize. You may become the board of directors. Some of you may not, who are on that original steering committee. But you're going to be, you need to have a group of people that can have time to work together, to talk to the rest of the community, to engage people in conversation, to spread the word. Because the co-op is community owned, it takes a lot of people because they're not asking people for huge investments to become owners. Usually it's a couple $100 that would be typical. But $200 isn't a lot of money when you're trying to start a new business. So you need a lot, the more people you have, the better off you are. And that's why you need a strong team and people that are willing to hang in there because it will take a couple of years. So that's number one. We have this development model that has evolved. Well, actually, it hasn't evolved much. It's pretty much the same as it was when it was created about almost 15 years ago, that we use to describe the process of organizing a co-op. It can be used for other things too. But, you know, we talk about 4 cornerstones. You have, no matter where you are in the process, you're going to have to rely on your vision. What is it you're trying to accomplish? Are you clear on that? The talent, the people that are doing the work, your systems, how you get the work done, and the capital, the money you need to make it happen. So that's got to be there all the way through the project. But the project evolves through 3 stages as well. You begin with organizing, getting people together, getting people interested, getting the co-op incorporated, that sort of thing. Then you begin doing the business planning and assessing the feasibility of your plans. That's the middle stage. And finally, you've got the implementation stage where you've made a commitment to go forward, have a site, and you're actually opening a store. So there you go, Landon, you're on top of it. And then this is just a pretty picture slide, but I mean, this is from an actual co-op that we helped very early on in our work, in fact, showing their progress and plans as they were getting ready to open. Okay, next one. So
We need to get on this map.
no, yeah, this one is actually out of date anyway, but we can get you on the map by just actually we try to update it with everybody we know is actively organizing. You don't have to actually, as long as we know you're out there. It may not be immediate, but we'll get you on here. So I mean, this is just to show you that there's a lot of activity around the United States. These are actively organizing co-op efforts. So
Not alone. Oh,
yeah.
That's what this one says.
Yeah. There's unfortunately not a really good, well-maintained database of food co-ops. So the number, this is an estimate, but we think there's somewhere between around 380 retail food co-ops in existence in the United States. And it's a little less than 100. We have over 120 groups that we're in contact with. Some of them are we would call inquiries. They've asked us about starting a co-op, but they haven't really started doing any organizing yet. So it's somewhere between 100 and 120 at least. And there are not only Food Co-op Initiative, but there's other development organizations out there, including consultants that specialize in working with food co-ops that can help along this path. So you're not on your own. Our help is, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to repeat it. We don't charge for it. You know, you call us, ask for advice. You can use all the resources in our library. The only thing we charge for is our conferences, and because we have overhead to cover. But we do training events as well. So there's lots of help. There's lots of help along the way. You're not doing this in a vacuum.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that I've been using these resources and they've been amazing. It makes it so streamlined, and it's complex to create an entire grocery store, but when it's all laid out in front of you, like, it feels so possible to me. And then just getting more community involvement and more people on the steering committee or the board of directors, like, I just see it all falling into place, because any question you have, it's immediately there. And then for the little nuances and details, Stuart's right here. I've been emailing him a few times through the last few weeks, and
No,
they're
that's
awesome.
the way it's supposed to work. Thank you, Landon. I appreciate the plug. So
I'm plugging for my community so that they don't
yeah,
get too
there you
scared and
go.
they want to help me.
This is how you can contact us. You can also go directly to me by going Stuart, Stuart, at fci.coop. But info@fci.coop will get to me as well. And that's our website where we have our resource library and we've also got links to, we must have about 60 or 70 videos that we've recorded with presentations and trainings, as well as printed publications, and you name it. We because we're a relatively small organization, there's only 3 people. We have been always attempted to make everything we do available online, so that we can stretch the capacity of our 3 people as far as possible. Which doesn't mean that we've always got time for the personal conversations, but a lot of the training and information is out there for you whenever you need it, just by going and looking. So.
And yeah, I'm looking for volunteers, and I want as much feedback and ideas and questions and input. So this is our first email address before we get a co-op domain further down the line. That's my phone number. Feel free to call or text. I'm putting a lot of time and energy into this, and so I'm more than happy to hear from anyone that's hearing this now or later. Let's make it happen. Let's get a food co-op in Prescott. So that's me. And oh yeah, and I guess we didn't really talk about the name, but my name idea was Everybody's Hometown Food Co-op, because Prescott's slogan is everybody's hometown. So that's the name I'm going with right now. But if you completely dislike the name, let me know as well, because that's not set in stone and this is a community endeavor. So nothing is finalized through me. Thanks, everyone.
It doesn't make a great acronym, but
Yeah, it doesn't.
Hey, Landon, don't forget to stop sharing your screen, and then everybody can turn their videos on. And as you have questions, we can have an open conversation. Now you maybe want to switch to gallery view. I don't really know how you see things on your screen, and then we can really facilitate some conversation. And I just wanted to reiterate the reason that Northern Arizona Climate Change Alliance is even a part of this is because we have climate action teams, and Landon is a part of our food choices and land use team here in Prescott. And we really didn't have a chance to even meet or talk about what our goals were. This opportunity came up, and Landon just went for it. So we kind of dovetail it in with the work that NASCA is doing, because we want to support this type of project. So we're providing all the information that Landon needs as far as resources, volunteers to our NASCA database, so that he can be supported. And so we're like a conduit. So just keep that in mind and give your support to NASCA. We, in the chat box, you can sign up to get emails if you don't do that yet and get on our contact database. And we're also a nonprofit, so you can, any donations help us with some of the outreach and resources that we have to use, especially since we went digital. Okay, that was my NASCA commercial, and we're gonna go ahead. And I told Landon that I'm gonna go off camera, and while you all kind of have a discussion, I'll feed questions to Landon, and then amongst yourselves you can facilitate, answer them. So the first question was from Judith. She says, how does the co-op business model compare to a B Corp?
Do you want me to get that one, Landon?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the beginning of the incorporation process. So
Yeah. Well, a B Corp is a traditional investor corporation that has committed to a public benefit, but it still has a commitment to investors, and investment in that kind of a corporation is volatile. You know, you can benefit from your investment if the price of stock rises or falls. In a co-op, your investment is your equity share, and it never changes. It's not a speculative investment. Every member has one vote. You can't have more votes by buying more stock. There's just no way to do it. It's one member, one vote, regardless. And the co-op has its set of principles, which are arguably even more community-oriented than a B corporation. So I think you can actually be both, by the way, but it's a different business model in that it's not intended as a speculative investment for anyone. It's a business owned by the people that use it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Landon, do you or Molly know of any other cooperative businesses that actually are running in Prescott area right now?
I don't know any in Prescott. There's the Food Conspiracy Co-op in Tucson, and I just read a news article with AZ Central that there's an agricultural cooperative in Phoenix, which is definitely different. It's a cooperative of the farmers more than a cooperative of the consumers, and so I don't know all the details of that. But those are the only two that I've personally heard of within the state.
Do you have any utility co-ops, or possibly?
We wish. APS monopoly, take it down.
Well, keep in mind that credit unions are co-ops.
Oh yeah, we have.
They're consumer-owned co-ops.
Oh, that's a good example, and I'm so glad that I can say I am a credit union member.
Credit unions, yeah.
Yeah, some years ago, as I'm a member of an association of cooperative developers. We had got an invitation to a White House briefing to talk about co-ops. Nobody really super famous was there, mind you, but it was still impressive to be there. And one of our group asked one of the White House representatives if he was a member of any co-ops. And he said, "Well, I don't think so." And he said, "Credit union by any chance?" "Oh yeah." Which goes to show just how well known the cooperative movement can be in places of power, I guess.
Right.
Oh
Molly, did
yeah.
you have something to add, Molly?
Well, I don't know of any co-ops in this area. I mean, Arizona used to have a wonderful cooperative warehouse called Tucson Cooperative Warehouse that was huge and successful and really supported a whole lot of small co-ops. At one time, there were probably 3 small buying clubs. We'll call them buying clubs in the Prescott area. But that was bought out by United Natural Foods many years ago, and an alternative has not emerged. So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah. There were, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 cooperatively owned warehouses around the country at one time, and either they failed, folded, or were bought out. Every one of them.
I kind of back to the unknown co-ops. Actually, REI and Organic Valley Dairy, which
Yeah.
you can find in any grocery store, those are both co-ops. So technically we have co-ops in Prescott,
Sure.
but they're huge, so they can be big.
REI is the biggest consumer-owned co-op in the United States. They don't always show their co-op flag very high, but they are.
Who was that, Stuart? REI?
REI, yeah.
Yeah. I tried to buy their stock once, and that's how I found out. So what are the next steps, Landon? What are you working on? And why don't you talk about your experience at the farmers market? It sounds like you had a really good, kind of like, connections with people that were there. You got their email addresses and kind of created some buzz.
Yeah, I'll start with the farmers market, tell everyone what I'm up to. So yesterday I went to the farmers market and started cold calling people, essentially just walking up to them being like, I'm starting a food co-op, join my meeting. Well, I made it a question, or do you want to join my email list? And I think I probably got like 80% of the people to give me their email address. So that was pretty good retention. And some people were kind of like, yeah, all right. And some people were like, that's the best idea ever. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing that. So that was really inspiring to do that. And I would expect the farmers market to have a higher percentage of people that are really into it than just like walking around the square. But it kind of got me like, maybe I should just carry a clipboard everywhere and be like, food co-op, come on, give me your email.
That's best practice.
So anyone else is welcome to do that too. Like tell your friends, tell your family, like, hey, we're doing this food co-op, email this guy and he'll get you on the list. And there's things we need to do and fill out this survey that's coming and all of that. So where I'm at in my step-by-step process right now is I meant to have a survey finished for the end of this meeting, but that didn't quite happen. So that's coming out this week. It's just going to be a short survey asking about your interests. Do you want to be on the email list? What's super exciting to you? What ideas do you have for the food co-op? Just a few basic things. And then I'm also going to start communications with Kathy Rusing, who's on the city council, to see how viable it is to get some funding from them through the CARES Act stuff. Because if they could match dollar for dollar or match a percentage or just give us a pretty decent chunk, like that could rapidly accelerate this. Like that could be the difference of 2 years. Like we could be opening in 2 years. If they give us nothing, maybe we open in 3 to 4 years. That also depends on member acquisition, how interested people really are in joining, and buying an equity share early on before we're open to really help push the financial end of it, because you really need that strong equity in order to get investors or loans or things like that, when you have that strong community equity already, then you kind of have more clout. They're like, oh yeah, you guys are really serious about this. Like, you've raised a good amount of money. And then there's like a benchmark where if we get either through the CARES funding or if we get no funding and get like 150 members, that'll give us about the right amount of money to do a full feasibility study, and that'll tell us how big the store would want to be, how much demand we can expect, and like the whole shebang. And that involves a couple of consultants and filling out our whole budget and kind of those nitty-gritty details. So those are kind of like the big things, and then there's like some little things within that. I guess I missed also that we would be incorporating before accepting members, and that involves organizing the board of directors and getting some bylaws. But again, that's just kind of like details that are like slow and steady, and that could be a month to a few months. But I'm like diligently engaging in all of those processes as we go, and then it's just a matter of how enthusiastically the community engages from there. So that's pretty much it.
So Landon, will you put that your email address and your phone number in the chat box for everybody? And because I know you're going to want to follow up, and we do have a new registration way that we're doing registrations through the Action Network, and then we just sent people the Zoom link because this kind of got caught right in the middle of that transition. So I want to make sure that everybody who's on here and wants to be in touch with you, that they have your information. And also you can always just go to that link at NASCA, contact us. I mean, that's what we do. We're here to connect everybody. So if you're not hearing from Landon or seeing any emails coming through, just go to nasca.org and just say, hey, Carrie, I think I need to get in touch with Landon. Can I have, and so that comes straight into the community organizers' emails, any communications through the website. So, okay, well, I think this is really exciting. I'm really happy that we're doing this and you're taking advantage of this moment to do something good for our community. So, and I see Stuart dropped his contact info. Oh, and I wanted to thank Stuart for the open source information that you provide on all this. Obviously, that just kind of like syncs with the whole branding of Cooperative. So I love that very much. And so thank you for that. I think it's really helped out Landon a lot, and with Molly, Beverly, and there's a lot of seasoned, people that work with food and farms and businesses here in town that are really coming together. So thank you for being here. And Landon and Stuart, did you have anything to close with?
No, just you won't know until you get through the project just how valuable it is. Not just the end result, but the process. Cooperatives have a sneaky way of changing people's lives, sneaky in a good way. And I wish you all the best, and please stay in touch. I'll do whatever I can to help you. I assure you of that. And that's about it. Good luck to you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again, Carrie, for really helping put this on. It's just amazing that I can talk to you and you can put a whole Zoom meeting together, and you and Molly can do amazing community outreach immediately. And that's like so much groundwork that feels so daunting to me, and it just opens me up to do all of these other little details that other people would probably find really boring, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. So
yeah, it's actually pretty exciting to put it all into action. We're here to empower and educate, and then we have these teams and connecting people. So that's really starting to happen for NASCA. I mean, the organization's only a couple of years old, 2 or 3 years, and so I can see that happening in all the communities that we're working in. So that's really exciting. And I wanted to thank everybody that joined us on my watch party on Facebook. So we had about at least 8 people that joined it, but there's always a lot of people that see it. So that's really exciting. It goes on the news feed. So people just, as they scroll through the news feed, they see what we're talking about. So that in and of itself, I think is a really good success too. And we will have this recorded, and it will be a YouTube link that it'll go up on the NASCA video library, and also I'll send it to Landon for
Get that out through the food co-op email as well.
All right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here on a Sunday afternoon.
Thanks for joining in, everyone. I'm super excited.
I know. Good luck.